Hi, my name's Brian. In today's story, you're going to see how an entitled HOA Karen broke into my private mountain cabin, and how my two German shepherds gave her the kind of welcome she'll never forget. It's a mix of suspense, a little bit of humor, and the sweet satisfaction of seeing justice served without me lifting a finger. But before we jump into it, if you enjoy crazy real-life stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next wild episode. Alright, let's get into it. I never thought my quiet cabin in the mountains would turn into the center of chaos, but that's exactly what happened one summer afternoon. See, I had bought that cabin years ago to escape the madness of city life. No horns, no nosy neighbors, no HOA breathing down my neck about the height of my grass or the color of my mailbox. Just peace. At least that's what I thought. There was one problem, though, a woman named Karen. She was the self-appointed enforcer of the nearby HOA. Technically, my cabin wasn't even part of her jurisdiction, but that didn't matter to her. She made it her mission to check in on me. She would drive up uninvited, snoop around, and lecture me about community standards. I ignored her most of the time because honestly, I just wanted to be left alone. But that week, I had gone into town for some supplies. My dogs, two big German shepherds named Max and Duke, were left inside the cabin, safe and sound. I wasn't gone more than 3 hours. When I returned, I noticed something strange. The side door was slightly ajar. At first, I thought maybe I had forgotten to shut it properly. But then I saw muddy footprints leading inside. That's when I knew. Someone had broken in. And if my gut was right, it wasn't just anyone. I pushed the door open carefully, my heart racing. From the inside, I could hear my dogs barking like crazy, their growls echoing through the cabin. That was unusual. They were protective, yes, but never this aggressive unless they felt threatened. I stepped into the living room, and that's when I saw her. Karen. She was standing there in my cabin, rifling through a drawer like she owned the place. My blood boiled. She turned around and had the audacity to look shocked. "Oh, I was just making sure everything here is up to code," she said, brushing her hands like it was the most normal thing in the world. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Up to code? Karen, this is my private property. You broke into my home. She gave me the smug look and replied, "Technically, you shouldn't even have this cabin. It's not aligned with HOA regulations. I was going to report you, but since you weren't here, I thought I'd take a look myself." At that moment, my dogs came rushing in. Their growls turned into sharp barks, ears pinned back, eyes locked on Karen. They stood between me and her, muscles tense. I didn't have to say a word. They knew she didn't belong there. Karen's smugness melted away. She froze, her hands raised slightly as if she thought my dogs were trained soldiers. Maybe we can just forget this ever happened?" she stammered, her eyes darting from Max to Duke. But it was too late for that. The thing about German shepherds is they're loyal, protective, and smart. They sensed my anger, my tension, and they reacted. Max let out a deep growl, one that vibrated through the room. Duke moved closer, his nose almost touching Karen's arm. She flinched. I crossed my arms and said calmly, "You know, Karen, they don't really like uninvited guests. And right now, you're the definition of uninvited." She started backing away slowly, her face pale. You should really keep them under control," she snapped, trying to regain that bossy tone. I smirked. "Oh, don't worry. They are under control. You see, they don't attack unless I give them the command. But if I wanted to, all I'd have to do is snap my fingers." Karen's eyes widened. For once, she had no comeback. Max barked loudly, making her jump so hard she nearly tripped over her own feet. Duke followed with a low growl that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. All right, she yelled. "I'm leaving." She scrambled toward the door, fumbling with the knob like her life depended on it. My dogs stayed on her heels the whole time, never touching her, but close enough that she felt every second of it. When she finally managed to fling the door open, they chased her all the way to her car, barking so loudly I'm sure the entire valley heard. Karen practically dove into the driver's seat and peeled out of there, tires screeching on the gravel road. Max and Duke stood proudly at the edge of the driveway, tails wagging like they had just completed a mission. And honestly, they had. After Karen's dramatic escape, I walked back inside with Max and Duke at my side. They were calmer now, happy even, as if they knew they had done something good. I gave them each a treat and patted their heads. "Good boys," I whispered. "Best security system I could ever ask for." Later that week, word spread quickly through the town. Apparently, Karen had gone around complaining that my attack dogs nearly mauled her. But everyone knew Karen, and no one took her seriously. Some even laughed at her, saying it served her right for breaking into a cabin that wasn't hers to begin with. As for me, I didn't have to lift a finger. My dogs had handled everything better than I ever could have. And from that day forward, Karen never set foot near my cabin again. In fact, whenever she saw me in town, she'd cross the street or duck into a store just to avoid eye contact. It's funny. She thought she was above everyone, that she could control me, my land, even my home. But the moment she was face to face with Max and Duke, she realized something. You can't bully people forever. Sooner or later, you'll run into someone. Or in this case, some dogs who won't back down. Now, every evening when I sit on my porch with Max and Duke at my feet, I can't help but smile. Because I know my cabin is safe, not just from intruders, but from people like Karen who think they can control everything. And the best part? I didn't have to call the cops. I didn't have to fight. I just let my dogs do what they do best. Protect their home and their owner. So, if you ask me how I dealt with Karen and the HOA nonsense, the answer's simple. She broke into my cabin and got welcomed by my dogs.